It's 2013. While Whitey Bulger was getting 2 consecutive life sentences after 16 years on the lam, Lord was topping the charts with royals. Meanwhile, The Girl on Fire was about to get a coronation of her own. Catching Fire was about to become the first female-led film to top the annual domestic box office in 40 years. We've arrived at November 22nd, 2013 to watch The Hunger Games Catching Fire. Welcome to the Screen Hoppers. I'm Ian Tarter, and I'm here with my co-host, Michael Smith. What's up, Michael Smith?
Good morning, Ian.
Good morning. How's it going, buddy?
It's going so good.
Yeah?
I am very excited about the 3 movies that we are going to talk about this morning.
Oh my gosh, we have such a lineup.
I know this weekend, and we'll get into what's playing, but it's kind of the type of weekend that this podcast was made for.
Oh, this is... When we started looking at movies that were overshadowed by big movies, there are definitely some weekends where I've been like, oh, what a bunch of stinkers. Like, no wonder they were all overshadowed.
I mean, I've avoided some big movies because I was underwhelmed by the competition. This one was the opposite. This is a weekend where I could do I show up for that first 10 a.m. screening and I'm there through dinner time.
I would have 100% spent all day at the theaters on a day like today and left with a big dumb smile on my face. By the way, I almost had a Formula One reference in my cold open today, but I realized it was only for you, and so I ended up cutting it the last minute because even I didn't know what it meant.
Formula One is a rapidly growing sport, especially in the United States, Ian. Lots of people are into it. Apple just got the TV rights.
I saw.
The movie is nominated for Best Picture, made a crap ton of money at the box office. You need to get on board, bro.
I'm not on board. It may be really big, it may be getting bigger, but that's in comparison to a small American audience. And since we know our audience is predominantly American, except for the 24 people that downloaded us in the Philippines a few weeks ago, which thank you all. Keep listening. Hi. But yeah, Sebastian Vettel had won his 4th consecutive championship right as this movie came out.
Oh yeah, I guess November, that would be the end of the season.
Sure, if you say so.
Vettel was fantastic. Great driver. And then it sort of shifted into the Lewis Hamilton era from there. So
yeah, Lewis Hamilton. I know all about him. He had that weird thing with his kids and then ended up overcoming some really difficult neurological disorder and went on to become a champion.
What? Are you cross-referencing there or are you just making shit up?
I'm just making shit up.
Oh, okay. I was like, is there some other Hamilton that I'm not making the connection with?
Nope. So November 22nd, 2013, there are a bunch of good movies playing. You were saying that you had a hard time sort of picking this weekend and figuring out what you wanted to watch.
Yeah, because there's it's November, right? So it's prime award season. This is when small movies that get critically acclaimed start to get wider releases because they've been nominated for stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of had to decide, do I want one of those prestige movies or do I want to find something I haven't seen before, been interested in? Ended up going prestige.
You did, but you went big prestige.
I did go big prestige. So I went with, let's go through the weekend. Let's see our top 10 at the box office is kind of all over the place, but there's a lot here. There's obviously our headliner, The Hunger Games Catching Fire. We've got a Marvel movie with Thor: The Dark World at number 2.
Much maligned. People do not care for this movie.
Yeah, the Thor movies have been very hit or miss. I think was it Love and Thunder was the one that I think people really hated.
That was the 4th one. Have you seen all of the Thor movies?
No.
Which ones have you seen?
Probably just the first one in The Dark World, and I don't think I could tell you anything about The Dark World.
You haven't seen Ragnarok?
Maybe I've seen Ragnarok.
Oh, that's the one that people
all
love.
Marvel movies blur together. We've had this conversation.
That actually, I'll say Ragnarok is, and this is not a hot take, but that is a good movie. That's when Taika Waititi took over.
Oh, okay.
And they're on the planet with Jeff Goldblum and Tessa Thompson.
I do love both of them.
Yeah, it's got a really good cast. It's a fun movie. It throws out all of the Thor lore. I think this is the one with Cate Blanchett too.
Oh, who also is great.
Yeah, it's got a stacked cast. Yeah, that one's worthwhile. I watched all of them after they'd already come out in theaters because I realized by avoiding them as long as I had that I had exited the zeitgeist on accident and didn't know what people were talking about anymore. So I went back through and rewatched them. And Dark World it's what it sounds like. It's a dark movie that's sort of humorless and I don't know. It's fine. Like,
Yeah, that's a bummer because the best Marvel movies are the ones that take themselves the least seriously.
this one takes itself extremely seriously. Having said that,
Exception of some of the Captain Americas that I really like that are kind of very serious.
The spy ones.
Yeah.
But the first Thor, I think, is unwatchable. Anyway.
Yeah. We've got at number 3, The Best Man Holiday, which is a like comedy, like an ensemble comedy. We've got Delivery Man with Vince Vaughn, who I have a weird soft spot for.
I don't think that's weird at all. Vince Vaughn is he's a charming motherfucker.
He's funny.
He
right?
is. He's got a cadence that I just can't get over.
He does the Vince Vaughn thing and everything, but I like the Vince Vaughn thing.
When he showed up in Curb after Marty Funkhauser, the actor who plays him, died, who's Dave Einstein, after he passed, and he showed up as the new Funkhauser, I was delighted.
We've got Freebirds, which is animated, Last Vegas, which has all of your favorite old people in it.
One of our favorite old people just died the other day. Did you see that? Robert Duvall?
Did. Yeah, he was like 95.
He
or
was.
something like
He
that.
was. Definitely not. I mean, sad, but not tragic like the last couple losses
I know.
we've had.
Oh my God.
What is with these
hesitate to
old
say
men
this.
outliving these lovely actresses who are like
No, we lost
Catherine O'Hara.
We
lost
Catherine
Catherine
O'Hara
and
at
Diane Keaton so recently.
64, and Diane Keaton was only in her 60s.
No, I think they were
Or was
both
she-
early 70s. I
were
think they
they
were both
better?
like 71, 72.
Okay,
But
that
still
felt young. Felt young.
feels young when you know that like Al Pacino is still having kids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. And someone like posted online that like, oh, if you think, this was hard, like just remember like Jack Nicholson might be next. I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
We got a Jackass movie in here. We got, speaking of old people, Bad Grandpa.
I'm always here for a Jackass movie. Almost picked it.
I really like. They're making another one.
I know.
And
It's coming out this summer.
the last one was
Yeah.
like kind of hard to watch because I'm like, I don't know if they're gonna get up.
Johnny's 50.
I know.
Uh-huh. And you know
And-
what? I will go see it in theaters.
I absolutely will.
I
too.
regret not seeing the last one. I will not make that mistake again.
I love the Jackass movies. I really like Johnny Knoxville. Like he's just a charming motherfucker.
Oh my God, he's fantastic.
He's great. And then we run into the series of what I've dubbed good movies, but not a good time, which is Gravity, 12 Years a Slave, and Dallas Buyers Club round out the top 10.
Yeah.
All of those are in that prestige Oscar nominee category. If you drop down to 12, we have another one with Captain Phillips, Nebraska at number 20.
God, I love Nebraska. Have you seen that movie?
Yeah.
I love.
I love Alexander Payne. So
I love Alexander Payne too, and I love Bruce Dern, and
Yeah.
I love Will Forte. That movie though was just shockingly good.
yeah. At 26, we have or 27, we have Prisoners. At 28, we have Philomena, which was nominated for Best Picture, and I could tell you nothing about it.
Steve Coogan and Dame Judi Dench, I believe. I'm a big Coogan head.
Coogan's funny.
I love Coogan, and he just never hit in the U.S. He just kept trying and didn't happen. I will never forgive Ben Stiller for what he did in Tropic Thunder. I remember seeing the trailer for that movie, and I was like, oh my God, Steve Coogan's in this. Yes. And I like went to see the movie, and they blow his head off in like the first, 7 minutes of the damn movie?
Something like that,
and then the
yeah,
rest
yeah.
of the movie is like all of them playing in the jungle. And I know people love that movie, but I was furious
You were
that
just
they
mad that there wasn't
offered
enough
up.
Cougs.
Yeah. Love me the Cougs.
Yeah, and now he does all of those like those trip movies, right?
Well, they're TV shows that get mashed into movies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Him and Rob Brydon just go around Europe being mean to each other and doing impressions. And you know what? Bring it on.
yeah, I haven't seen all of them, but
I've
like
seen all of
the
them.
ones that I have seen, like yeah, I enjoyed them.
Oh, they're great.
They were good.
They're both so talented.
But yeah, the point is this is just a packed week, and so yeah, I went with Gravity,
yeah.
which I picked because I was gonna go with one of those ones that were movies that I had seen, remembered liking, but hadn't revisited because I didn't remember them as being enjoyable, even if I appreciated them.
I mean, you just answered my question. I always ask, what made
Yeah.
you pick Gravity? I remember we saw this one in theaters, my wife and and we walked out, and I remember being in awe.
Mm-hmm.
I remember loving the movie, and I remember looking at her and promising to never watch it again.
And here I am forcing you to watch it again.
And you know what? That is what I love about this pod. So, and
Yeah.
you saw it when it came out that year as well in theaters. So you were
I
coming
did.
back to it.
Yeah, so I was coming back to it, 12 years later. And yeah, spoiler alert, I'm happy that I made the choice that I made.
So sticking with my promise to try to either see movies that I haven't seen in such a long time that I don't remember, or seeing movies I have not seen, I went way down the list. Usually you go way down the list, but
I often go way down the list.
You often go to the point where I'm like, was that movie showing in any theaters? But I went way down, and I went way down because Denis Villeneuve was on the list.
Yes.
And with his first American film, Prisoners, Hugh Jackman, Jake Gyllenhaal, Paul Dano. We'll maybe get into that. We'll see.
We might.
It's a silly controversy. Who cares? He's going to still get hired. I had never seen this movie. I realized I hadn't seen a lot of Villeneuve's earlier work. I sort of bumped into him at Blade Runner 2049 and was like, who is this director? Like, tell me more. And I'm realizing I have to go back now and see several of his movies. And this was a great opportunity to do so, because this is the type of movie that I 100% would have avoided at pretty much any cost without knowing the director. Because thrillery, true crime, kid got taken in the night movies, no thanks. Not interested.
There are a lot of them.
There are so many of them, and I generally feel a lot of them generate paranoia and fear in people that is sort of irresponsible and unnecessary. Effectively the way I feel about true crime podcasts, too. Take that, true crime podcast, taking a shot across the bow of your millions and millions of listeners. Yeah.
I like those.
I know you do. But they make people think that crime happens more often than it does. They make you feel like you're at risk. They make you not trust your neighbors. They do all these things.
I feel like years ago we had this conversation where like both of us had like, I don't want to say like the opposite of the stranger danger conversation with our kids, but where I basically was just like, you don't really have to be that stressed about it. Strangers don't really like steal children all that often.
Taking a child is a fucking chore. Like, nobody likes signing up for chores. How many people do you know that wants more work?
Yeah, I mean, if someone took my kids, they give them back.
Yeah, unpaid work. That's what that is when you take a kid, because unless you plan on killing it right away, we're getting dark with this.
Yeah.
You got to feed it. You have to deal with its feces and its urine. Like,
they're not quiet, hard to hide.
All the reasons why couples split up over having a kid.
Yeah. And so yeah, you're right. I think like that paranoia is misplaced.
Yeah.
We'll say. But this movie definitely takes a different approach to the genre.
I was, spoiler alert, so pleased with the approach that it takes to the genre. I'm glad I made this pick. I'm excited to go back and watch other movies. I added Enemy to my list.
Yeah, I mean, you adore the Dune movies, and so to have any blind spot with the director,
I have a lot of blind spots with him. Yeah,
fixed.
Because I haven't seen Sicario either.
Oh, that one is. Speaking of the type of movie I would not typically watch, right? That doesn't really appeal to me, but now.
Yeah, like, after seeing that now, you're like,
I'm like, okay, I'll visit it just because of.
I'll tell you, I started Sicario a few months ago. I got 10 minutes in, and I don't want to spoil anything for you, but it like upset me so much I turned it off.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is more than I can handle right now.
You need to like brace yourself, get like the right amount of like fluffy pillows and blankets and things to be able to watch that movie.
I did not realize how dark that movie was going to go, how quickly.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, a really, really awesome weekend. It's exciting to see a big blockbuster YA dystopian movie come out on a weekend like this. We just did the Hunger Games last episode. I wanted to jump into Catching Fire. I felt like these movies had to go together. Like, they lead directly into each other. The films came out 18 months apart, which is
quick turnaround for big budget sequel.
Oh, absolutely.
Real quick.
Absolutely bonkers. I mean, they had all the cast assembled, and so they were ready to go. But to have it come out in November, so first, they launched the first one in March, which is sort of like that safe space. You don't have to compete with the summer blockbusters. It blows up. It's huge. People love it. Then they just jump right into prestige season instead of going into the summer, which I love because it gives us this amazing weekend and it treats the film more seriously. And I think that this film deserves it.
That is exactly why I love it being dropped in this weekend. Is we talked last week about the like unusual respect and reverence that the studio had for the Hunger Games. And this just reinforces that belief that they have in the property and the product that they put out.
Yeah, you gave the MVP last week to the studio heads at Lionsgate, and I think that this decision to bring it out during award season effectively pretty gutsy, and honestly, another great move because here we are, number 70 on the top 100.
And I don't think it's misplaced. It doesn't feel like it does not belong amongst all these other great movies.
Could not agree more. Well, let's do this. Let's take a break, and when we come back, let's go ahead and jump into the movies.
Let's do it.
We'll be back shortly with more of the Screen Hoppers. Welcome back to the Screen Hoppers. We are going to start off with Michael's movie pick for this weekend, 2013's Gravity.
Gravity opens with a title card that sets the scene better than I could. And so I'm just gonna introduce the movie with that, which is at 600 kilometers above the Earth's surface, the temperature fluctuates between 258 and negative 148 degrees Fahrenheit. There is no air to carry sound, no air pressure, and no oxygen. Life in space is impossible.
Couldn't set the scene better.
Couldn't set the scene better. And so we are given that information, and then we are dropped in where Dr. Ryan Stone, played by Sandra Bullock, and Matt Kowalski, played by George Clooney, are doing a spacewalk. They are repairing some communication equipment on a shuttle.
It's on the Hubble.
The Hubble. Yeah, that's right. The Hubble telescope. And they're having some trouble with the equipment. They have to be out there a little longer than planned. And they get a radio message that lets them know that the Russians have shot down one of their own satellites, and the debris from that poses a potential problem.
Then I realized that this guy is not a god. That my girl is holding hands with
ISS, this is Houston. Explorer, this is Houston.
Go ahead, Houston.
Mission abort. Repeat. Mission abort. Initiate emergency disconnect from Hubble. Begin re-entry procedure. ISS, initiate emergency evacuation.
Copy all, Houston, and in work. Matt, immediate return to Explorer. Repeat. Immediate return to Explorer.
Copy. Explorer, prep airlock.
Airlock engaged, ready to receive.
Houston, elaborate.
Debris from the missile strike has caused a chain reaction, hitting other satellites and creating new debris. Traveling faster than a high-speed bullet up towards your altitude. Now copy.
Copy all. Put a bow on it, Dr. Stone.
There's a real question about whether or not she will ever be able to be saved.
This event that takes place in the movie, you know that there's like a genuine fear that this can happen. It's based on a
Kessler effect or something like that? Yes.
There's a theory that this could potentially happen.
Which is that it could create this chain reaction that's unstoppable, that there's so much stuff orbiting the Earth that the risk of it all just like crashing into each other and creating just massive problems. I mean, all of our communication could go down. You could have this stuff like falling back into the atmosphere. Real concern.
Yeah. Well, there's so much garbage in space now. It's kind of mind-boggling. Like, we talk a lot about the giant plastic floating island in the Pacific Ocean. There's also the giant like aluminum floating island that's up in space that could all come crashing down at any moment.
So I want to start this conversation with kind of what you had said in our intro, which is that you initially watched this movie, you were awed by it, but never really wanted to visit it again.
I felt the way that I felt about Castaway when I saw it, which was like, this is an incredible piece of work. But once I felt like I knew how it ended, once the tension of Dr. Stone's fate is pulled out of the movie, I wasn't sure that it would be rewatchable, because it is, I felt at the time that it was so much a spectacle and sort of a tension trap that you get trapped inside. And once you know the spectacle and you've seen it, and we can't watch it in IMAX or 3D right now, it's not doing any special anniversary showings. And I know that Dr. Stone, spoiler alert, lives.
Yeah, she survives.
So then to me, I thought, this movie doesn't feel rewatchable.
Yeah, because you question if you take the stakes out of it, like what is left. And on this rewatch, what I discovered is that what is left is a better movie. That when unburdened by that tension, by that mystery, that big question of does she survive, what you're left with is settling into a bizarrely intimate personal story. And I absolutely loved my experience watching this for a second time.
So you say it was better, which I find super fascinating. Tell me how it worked as a better movie for you now that sort of the stakes were pulled out. Because, I mean, movies are built on stakes. They're built on tension. Like, we go to movies to experience fear and pain and excitement. And when you know how a movie ends, it ultimately, that's why people get so furious about spoilers. So when you have that, talk me through this. How did you get there?
Yeah, so for me, as I watched this, I remembered it being exactly what you described, a technological marvel. And there's tons of stuff that I want to talk about with that technical marvel.
I assume you've got the light box in there.
The light box. We need to talk about
We got to talk the light box.
And I want to talk the light box.
Yeah.
And then you have that tension and that mystery. But I think the brilliance of this movie is taking something as big as space and telling a story that really is about one person and her sort of personal struggle and reason for even wanting to survive. Like, what is it about the human condition that naturally pushes us towards having an instinct to survive, kind of regardless of our circumstances, right? We learn about a little bit about her background, and the truth is, like, she has a sad life. She's a medical doctor. She's not an astronaut. The reason that she is in space is as a mission specialist because they are adapting some sort of monitoring technology that they use in the medical field for monitoring space technology, like the telescope. We all know that going to space is terribly dangerous and carries a lot of risk.
I mean, the funny thing about that opening title card is it's like, it sets the tone so well, but there's also sort of this like, yeah, I know. It's why I don't want to go.
It's why I don't want to go to space.
That's why I'm not interested.
Why, like, this idea of space tourism that all these like billionaires are going on, who are people who you're like, you've got like a lot going for you down here. Why are you taking that risk of going into space? We know how many of those missions are not successful, that people don't, like, famously don't survive their trips to space. And so I'm going to throw it actually to the first clip where they're floating through space, unsure if they're going to be able to get back to a space station, to a functional craft. Things feel hopeless, and Matt Kowalski, George Clooney's character, is just trying to have a conversation, connect with Stone, and we learn a little bit about her background.
What do you miss down there? Is there a Mr. Stone?
No.
Nobody special? Somebody down there looking up, thinking about you? Right?
I had a daughter.
That line hits so hard.
The had.
She was 4. She was at school playing tag, slipped, hit her head, and that was it. Stupidest thing. I was driving when I got the call, so ever since then, that's what I do. I wake up, I go to work, and I just drive.
You know, I usually talk through the clips a lot more because that's what I do. I'm not allowed to talk through movies, so I talk through our clips. But the soundscape of that scene, just sitting here with my headphones on, listening to it, it actually hit even different than when I watched the movie the first time. You hear these like strings pulling, you hear the sort of faded country music that Kowalski's listening to, and it just puts you in this like really vulnerable space. And when Sandra Bullock delivers that line in sort of a loud whisper, I had a daughter. Oh my gosh, I'm getting,
I know.
I'm getting the feels right now. This movie really hit super hard. Like you were saying that it worked for you better this time, and I was questioning sort of skeptically. It worked better for me too.
Yeah, I think what made that particular sequence something that I wanted to visit is that what we learn is that she is a person whose life has lost its meaning, that she lives a very directionless life. She literally describes that she goes to work, does her thing, and then she just drives with no destination because her life isn't going anywhere.
She doesn't just drive with no destination. I think this really is something so interesting about her character that I really love and I want to explore more on this episode, is that she drives without direction. So she's not really in control of where she's going, and she lets the radio play. So she's not really in control of what she's listening to. She's relinquished so much control in her life that she has quite literally floated into space. Like it's kind of a bizarre conundrum in that, like, you have to work really hard to get to space.
Yeah.
But she somehow has just drifted into space because she has completely given up any kind of autonomy, any kind of control over her life, because nothing matters anymore.
Yeah. And as I was researching sort of the making of this movie, Alfonso Cuarón, the director and co-writer, he co-wrote the movie with his son, was talking about, he made this movie after Children of Men, which, great movie, by the way. Watch it.
That is an understatement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
if you're listening to this and you haven't seen Children of Men, I don't know who you are. Like, what slice of the demographic?
Crossover where you're listening to this podcast, you haven't seen. But that movie failed spectacularly. It made less than like $70 million on a $75-ish million budget. Nobody wanted to give him money to make another movie.
But it famously came out in 2007, which was like the year. I remember missing it and having a professor, I was an undergrad, yell at me for not watching it. He was like, "What? You saw There Will Be Blood and you saw No Country and you didn't see Children of Men?" And I was like, I don't know what Children of Men is.
Yeah. But Cuarón was feeling directionless. Like the thing that he wanted to do was taken away from him, that he couldn't grasp it anymore. And so he made this movie because he was like, you know what? Studios like writing checks for big space movies, so I'll make a big space movie. But what he really made was this like meditation on depression and adversity. And space is this like perfect metaphor because it is the abyss that someone falls into when they're depressed. And I think like that sequence just perfectly takes her life on Earth and the fact that she is floating through space, like literally untethered, and just marries them beautifully.
This tension between something and nothing in the movie is my favorite part of the movie, is whenever it is highlighted that she doesn't quite want to let go of something, even though she feels like she has nothing, and drift into nothingness. The opening sequence is intense. When that Kessler effect happens and all of that space debris comes shooting at them at thousands of kilometers per hour, firing through. And she says that she likes space because of the quiet, because she wants nothing. She is launched into nothing and realizes in that moment that maybe that's not what she wants.
Yeah.
But now, because she's allowed herself to go so far, she may not be able to make her way back. And then the rest of the movie is drifting in that space between the ultimate darkness, being launched into death, into this absolute environment that human life cannot exist in.
There's no scenario someone can find themselves in that's more hopeless than the one that she is in.
Precisely. But returning to Earth it doesn't hold an appeal for her. And so she's drifting between gravity and basically like no gravity. I mean, and hence the name of the film. And that push and pull for her as a character and her journey existing in that liminal space between, effectively, do I commit suicide? Do I allow my depression to so take over me that I commit suicide and allow myself to drift away into the nothingness? Or do I find meaning back on Earth? I struggle with depression. I struggle with depression often.
Yes.
And watching that movie through that lens, learning that Alfonso Cuarón wrote the film, really thinking about those types of questions about nothingness and something, and dealing with dark depression when you feel like you can't do the thing that you want to do, that you don't have a meaning for life on this earth anymore. It resonated really deeply with me, and this movie took on a whole new meaning.
Yeah, and that's why I think that it's better without the tension, because the tension is a distraction from that deeply personal, I think immensely relatable struggle that she's going through in an environment, a scenario that like maybe we can't relate to.
Yeah.
And again, that contradiction is just brilliant.
Well, the question pivots from will she survive when you find out that she does to will she choose to live?
Mm-hmm.
And that question is so much more interesting. And it's what makes Cuarón such a superb filmmaker and storyteller, is that he is able to do that kind of ballet with a film that is ostensibly a space epic to be watched in IMAX and 3D.
Mm-hmm.
But you realize that it's this intensely intimate portrait of somebody who is choosing to live. I have seen so many survival stories that do not hit at that question the way Gravity does.
Right. And I think kind of fast forwarding through the movie a little bit, because it's not very plotty. There's not a ton of plot to talk about, which is good.
I was going to say, this is like the lightest I've ever had for my note taking on a movie, because so much of it is just emotional beats. And I told you, I've been trying to pivot my note taking on, like, I write a scene, but the whole scene is just in space. So it's like I have the Hubble, I have the Russian ship. And that reminds me, we have to talk about the religious iconography.
So that actually kind of brings
Perfect. All right.
So the Russian ship, she finds this Russian ship. She finds out that it doesn't have fuel. It's not the savior she thought it was going to be. And for a moment, she does give up. She gives up. She turns off the oxygen and is going to have basically a peaceful death in that pod. And as she runs out of oxygen, she starts to hallucinate. She gets a knock at the window, and it's Kowalski. He opens up the door, sits down next to her, and they have a conversation. And what I love about this scene, and this goes into like the attention to detail and the technology a little bit, and the effects, is in that scene there is gravity. Kowalski sort of floats in, and he sits down next to her, and he doesn't buckle himself in. He just sits down next to her. He takes off his gloves. He sets them down instead of just letting them float away. And it really gives us this picture of, yeah, that's what would happen if you're hallucinating, because your hallucinations are in your mind. They're the thing you're familiar with. She's not a professional astronaut.
Yeah.
She's just in her head. And he basically chides her for giving up, tells her you have to keep going, gives her a tip on how she can kind of make this thing work again.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all in her head, right? He's actually not giving this to her. So this is her sort of coming out and finding it within herself to move forward.
Sort of. So there's a couple things I actually want to talk about in there, because I will start by saying that I have started, I don't know, it's not a segment on the show yet, but I'm identifying movie sins. This is my movie sin moment.
Oh, no.
This is my movie sin moment. They say the quiet part out loud in this scene, and I hate when a film says the quiet part out loud. It feels like you have stopped trusting the audience, or you took a producer's note that you shouldn't have taken.
Okay.
Because they're worried that people aren't going to get that this is about her choice to survive. And so now they need Kowalski to come in there and literally say, what does he say? Go back or stay here. It's nice here. No one can hurt you. That is spoon feeding me what I already know through the incredible performance that Sandra Bullock is giving, through the incredible composition of the scene that I already know is being given to me by Chivo. Like everything about this scene, I already know all those things. I don't need Kowalski to say it. And so I was actually... it does some things that I really like that I think you described, but I think that the dialogue in this scene it says the quiet part out loud, and it really frustrated me in that moment. However, it also does something that I think is super interesting, going back to her sort of letting other people take the wheel, like not taking control over her life, and this being a big part of how she's wound up where she is, and continuing to allow that, because Kowalski, at one point, I think the scene that we just played is he's like towing her, almost like she's like a broken down car, like back to the shop. And I love that sequence. He's playing this country music. It actually has that sort of feel as though she's being pulled across, the Ohio plains.
Yeah.
And she's got a flat tire. And it's like, well, what are we going to do with this old broken down car? But everything she does in the movie is a repetition of something she's seen someone else do. So when Kowalski starts talking her through how to survive before he eventually drifts off into space, he's Houston in the blind. He keeps talking to Houston even though they can't hear him. She picks that behavior up after he leaves.
Yes.
So she's able to emulate that behavior. He tells her to set a timer because we know when the debris is going to come back around Earth again. When he's gone, she sets the timer again. She emulates that behavior. Like, she doesn't operate under any of her own free will. She's still sort of figuring out how to find her way back to Earth based on copying someone else's behavior. And she needs Kowalski to come back to her in a hallucination to tell her what to do next because she's sort of run out of steps. And so she almost has to, and this is the moment of creation, right? This is the moment where we go from emulating those around us and sort of copying the thing that we love and that we respect to figuring out how do we now guess at what the next thing that would do. What you're like, Kowalski's her hero. He is literally her hero. So now she's guessing Kowalski's gone. What's the next thing he would do if he were here? And she makes that step to creativity and finally takes, even though it's a modicum of autonomy, is able to take it by making that creative leap. And it's something I love about this scene. So as much as I think the greatest movie since committed in this scene, I also think an incredible moment happens in the scene.
Yeah, and then shortly after that scene, she makes the decision to move forward. And she does what I've just described. She says a prayer, basically. And
but she says she doesn't know how to pray. And this is, again, her not knowing how to do things.
Knowing how to do it. And that is the next clip that I'm going to share.
Hey, Matt. Since I had to listen to endless hours of your storytelling this week, I need for you to do me a favor. You are gonna see a little girl with brown hair. Very messy, lots of knots. She doesn't like to brush it. That's okay. Her name is Sarah. Can you please tell her that Mama found her red shoe? She was so worried about that shoe, Matt. But I was just right under the bed. Give her a big hug and big kiss for me and tell her that Mama misses her. Tell her that she is my angel. And she makes me so proud. So, so proud. Can you tell her that I'm not quitting?
Least believable part of this movie, that anybody would ever get bored by George Clooney telling them stories.
I was like, are you about to crap on this scene? So
how long would you let him tell you stories?
Forever.
Yeah. Nobody's bored with Kowalski. Get the hell out of here. That guy's charming as hell. He can tell me the same story.
But this scene, one, like, I have a daughter with brown hair that's very messy that she hates to brush.
Does she have a red shoe?
Probably. She loses her shit all the time. But this is where I think she finds herself, her motivation. She thought that she lost her reason for living and instead is flipping that into her inspiration to survive.
Well, it goes from who misses you to what do you miss. It stops being something from the outside in and it becomes something from the inside out. What do you want? What do you love? There's a pivot in this moment. I'm glad you chose this scene because it's in my notes here too, where I was like, this is where her mentality changes and she is able to start making choices about who she is rather than allowing those around her to define who she is.
Yeah, and then the rest of the movie plays out, right, from there, of her kind of having this drive. She starts to actually like innovate a little bit on her own, figures out, takes what she has learned from Kowalski, applies it. There's a great scene where she's like spinning and trying to like reorient herself so that she can find her destination. She takes a fire extinguisher and uses that to...
Well, I actually love the fire extinguisher because it goes from being something that is supposed to save her and ultimately actually injures her because she doesn't know how to use it yet.
Yeah.
It's this tool of safety that gives her a head injury that then she's able to figure out a better way to use it because this is a different environment. This tool that you thought was for this actually can be for this.
Yeah, and so she eventually is able to make it into a Chinese like escape shuttle pod thing. And she gets back to Earth, and she crashes and she lands in the water. And
another place where human beings cannot survive.
Right. And so the initial kind of instinct when you're first watching it is this moment of dread and terror of like, oh my God, this woman was trapped in space and now she's trapped underwater. And so you have
there is sort of a not again feeling when you're watching for survival and not for depression. You're like, come on.
Yeah. And but it then leads to this beautiful scene where she is being dragged down by her spacesuit, right? Again, metaphor for depression, being dragged out. And then she unzips and comes out of the spacesuit, right? Like she leaves that weight behind and emerges from the water. She comes out and she floats and she can finally breathe and she can see land and she knows that she's safe. And again, I think you have this perfect metaphor of space, which is this void, it's dark, it's death. And then the water and the way that she emerges from the water is it's birth, right? It's, she comes up and it's birth. It's the start of life.
Well, I don't think you can talk about that without talking about the fetal scene then.
Oh, when she gets to the space station and she's like literally like in the fetal position, kind of floating hopelessly.
Yeah, because you know that scene was specifically crafted to not just have her look like a fetus, but they even have one of the cables be an umbilical cord for her because she is in a safe space, which is this womb in space, right? Which, can harken back to the Space Odyssey and everything else about like being birthed from space. But for her in this particular moment, and these two scenes connect for me because it is this birth, right? Is that yes, the womb is safe, but only for 9 months.
Yeah.
You can't return to the womb. You have to move forward because if you stay in the womb, you will die.
Yeah.
And this is both physically true in human beings, but it's true in this story is that she only has so much time in what feels like this comfort blanket in the safe space. And so she has to find a way to be birthed. And birth is coming out of this cocoon, coming out of this armor that she's wearing, whatever we want to call it, whatever metaphor we want to stick with. I'm going to do all of them. It's messy. It's dangerous. It's scary. And you might also die doing that too.
Right.
And you have to face all of those challenges as opposed to just staying inside of the womb. And so that scene, I love that we start in space where life is impossible, but then you also realize, oh, there's spaces on Earth where life is impossible as well. And you have to figure out how to navigate that as well. It's not just space.
Yeah. And
it's day-to-day life.
And then the movie ends with her stepping foot on the ground. There's, I think it's really great. They spend what feels like just a little too much time of her struggling to get up, right? Because she's been in space, right? So like your body, when there's no gravity, like you lose strength. You don't know how to operate in a world with gravity. She
like a baby animal being born.
Like a baby animal being born, right? And then she stands up and has this like second of triumph and then cut to black.
Yeah.
And I just like no notes. Like it's just perfect.
No movie. So you don't think that was a movie, Sen?
No, I thought like because the story is less about the life that she's going to live, the details about whether or not that's going to be a good life or not. It's about her choosing to live, ending on the moment of, okay, like I'm living, I'm here, I'm at a place where there is a path forward.
Yeah.
Like that's the point. That's all of it.
I am 90% there with you. I am. I think the film delivers that message rather expertly. And I think looking at it through the metaphor that multiple metaphors that we've chosen, I think it works. And I think it's a really great film. I love the tight runtime. You promised to talk the light box. Tell me about the light box, man.
So we've done all the thematic, emotional stuff.
I love the technical stuff though.
But yeah, I mean, you can't talk about this movie without talking about the technical stuff. And so we'll kind of wrap up our gravity conversation on the technical. So this movie won 7 Academy Awards, right?
And not Best Picture
not
somehow.
Best Picture. Weirdly, it won Director.
It won Writing too,
won
right?
Editing. I don't think it won Writing, but it won Sound at the time was split into 2 awards. It won both of those, won Visual Effects, and it won Cinematography. And the reason it won Cinematography is because of the light box.
Yeah.
So
which we'll get into this, but I don't know if I agree with that Oscar win. I love the Lightbox.
I was kind of there with you.
But then you learn more about the Lightbox?
But then I learned more about the Lightbox.
Oh, okay.
And and the Lightbox is fucking brilliant.
It is. I read a little bit about it, but I want to hear what you, because I know you spent more time.
Yeah. So, God, I'm not going to do this justice at all. But essentially, to create what it would be like being in space, you have to have her floating, and they're not just floating, they're orbiting. And when you orbit, your environment is constantly changing. You're sort of feeling like you're in place, but you're not.
I mean, it's algorithmically changing, wherein there is never stasis.
There's never stasis.
Yeah.
And so what they did is they built this box, like 10 feet by 20 feet, not very big. And the walls are LED screens. And they basically use those screens to have the environment constantly playing while they filmed. And they only really filmed the actors' faces. And they had the environment around them literally changing as though it would change in space. And so the light, as it shines on their face, changes in real time. They're able to react to what's going on around them. There are all these scenes where they're like spinning through space because they're untethered. They have no gravity, but the actor is actually in place, and it's the scene around them from this light box of screens that's actually moving, and they're responding to it. And it drew out these, I think, really fantastic performances. Like Sandra Bullock is so good in this movie.
I think she's flawless in this movie.
Yeah,
like she plays the pain, the fear, the depression of Stone, like just brilliantly.
And she reacts to everything happening around her, even though like we know that she's actually in place. And so all of that is done in the camera because they have what's happening actually occurring around them.
Yeah.
So we talk about like cinematography is as much lighting as it is like camera work.
I mean, when we get into Prisoners, we will talk a lot about lighting as well, because it's in some ways it's more lighting.
They had to rehearse every scene. They did, I think, 2 years of like pre-visualization, pre-production to get the timing of all of these things exactly right so that it could be shot in camera. And then of course there's tons of CG that's put over it because they're only shooting the actors' faces. And for me, the best special effects are what this movie does, which is they become invisible. When what you're watching is not like, oh, that's a great special effect. You're just a human story. The technology and effects empower you to just be there and forget that there's a special effect happening, and it feels real.
I think 90% of the time this movie achieves that almost perfectly. In which the special effects are not in the way of the human story.
Yeah. The Kessler effect scene being a notable exception, I think.
I think the Kessler effect scene being a notable exception. There's another moment, and I appreciate it, but I always question POV shots. I don't know if we talked about this on the pod, but last year's Nickel Boys was a movie that just didn't resonate for me before the choice to do POV. When the camera moves inside of her helmet, it makes me very, very aware of the camera and what they're doing. It feels a little bit like a wink that I don't always appreciate.
And it's interesting that the two things, the two times we're really pointing this out are that Kessler effect scene, the POV shot through the helmet, which is kind of terrifying, right? It does.
It is. It achieves that. In the theater, it feels like you're falling, which I like that effect.
But those are kind of the notable examples of when they're not using the light box.
And that's interesting. So yeah, I mean, it's incredible cinematography. I cannot believe that for somebody who was feeling as though they were lost after Children of Men, that they didn't know where their art was going to take them, that Cuarón had the audacity to write and make a film like this.
You stole my word.
Oh, audacity?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because it is. It's such an audacious film to make. And how you pull this over on studio executives to get $100 million for a story that's just about your own depression, but you've mapped onto space. Like, it feels very self-serving until you see the movie and you realize, oh no, this is the way to tell the story. It's actually a really beautiful way to tell the story. And I don't know, I is one of the things I love about Cuarón is that he is willing to do something like this. It's phenomenal.
Well, I mean, one of his first movies, this is a total aside, is Little Princess.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and that's my wife's actually like favorite childhood movie.
I've never seen it.
And it's another one where it tricks you because it's a very personal story about an emotional journey that just tricks you into thinking you're watching like a magical children's fantasy.
It's a great movie, and it does trick you.
He also made the best Harry Potter movie.
He did,
which is another one where he tricks you into thinking you're watching something you're not.
Yeah, you think you're watching a Harry Potter movie, you're not. Yeah,
right.
You're watching a Cuarón movie.
And so yeah, I love him as a filmmaker.
I do too.
I love him as a filmmaker making this movie, and I'm very pleased with myself that this is the movie that I chose for this episode.
No, I think it was a great choice. I really enjoyed watching it with you. Does that mean it's time to pivot?
It is time to pivot. Our notes say pivot to other movie.
Calling out the script. Very meta of you. So let's do it. Let's talk Prisoners.
Let's talk Prisoners.
This is Denis Villeneuve's very first American film, now famous for what will be the Dune trilogy that he has made. But he has made some other pretty notable films, but this was his first American film. He'd done one film prior to this with Jake Gyllenhaal in Canada called Enemy. I have not seen it. Have you?
Nope.
It's very yellow.
Ah.
That's one thing I know about it, is I watched the preview and I thought about sitting down and I was like, it is
in the 2000s.
It is the most yellow and black movie I've ever seen. So maybe I'll get a chance to watch it soon. But let's do a quick summary. Keller Dover is the guardian of his family. He prepares for the worst but prays for the best. When his young daughter, Anna, and her friend Joy are abducted without a trace, Keller is thrust into a nightmare he wasn't prepared for. And now he has to rely on the overconfident and under-empathetic Detective Loki to solve the case. As the clock ticks towards a terrifying reality that after 7 days, the hope of finding a kidnapped victim alive evaporates, Keller takes matters into his own hands to find the truth. As I said before, this is a movie that I'm certain I avoided, because I didn't like thrillers of this variety. I didn't know who Denis Villeneuve was. Had I known that Roger Deakins shot it, it might have changed my mind at the time. Maybe, but I didn't know it at the time, so that's neither here nor there. This is a movie that, not unlike Gravity, tricks you into thinking that it's a kidnap thriller.
Yeah. I didn't watch it for similar reasons. Just seemed like a movie that, maybe I had seen before.
Yeah, it felt very much like a movie you've seen before until you actually start watching it and you realize that it is a movie that you have never seen before. However, and I don't know if this is where I wanted to start, but I'm going to start here. I know I've mentioned on a previous episode that Weapons was one of my favorite movies of last year. This movie changed my mind.
Okay.
Because I realized that Weapons was just a take on Prisoners. And I was like, wow, this story is not nearly as original as I thought that it was. It actually is just playing. In fact, I can tell that Kreger watched Prisoners because Barbarian and Weapons both they're both good movies. I like them, right? But the originality that I thought was there, they feel very much like they are love letters to Prisoners. Like he watched it and was like, I can make two movies out of this. And And did.
Right?
And he made two really good movies.
It's a movie worthy of writing letters to.
Oh, it absolutely is. This is another film. I'm so glad I chose it. I know it was way down the list, but when I saw that it was on there and I knew I'd never seen it before, but this movie plays with you because you think it's going to be a crime thriller. And what this movie is really about is it's about how violence spreads like a disease when we feel that there's a greater threat out there. It speaks about a political reality. It speaks about our reality as like in the domestic sphere and like what we're willing to do as people and how we're willing to transform ourselves into monsters. And so one of the first things I really want to talk about is Keller Dover, the main character of the film, played by Hugh Jackman, the father of Anna, who's kidnapped, his descent into darkness. Because this is a character who you're introduced to him. He's a survivalist. He's probably right-leaning. He is a carpenter.
Deeply religious.
He's very religious. Yeah. He is taking his family to a Thanksgiving party. He is involved. He is very protective. We know that early on. They have a whistle that Anna's supposed to have in case anything happens that she can blow on and that she's lost. But he plays this protector, this guardian angel. In fact, there's a really beautiful scene in the Thanksgiving dinner party that I just absolutely loved, in which he's standing there in the living room among the family, and the windows are framing him like wings, and the light is sitting above his head like a halo. Like Deakins is doing the work right there to tell you this is the guardian angel of this family. This is his position inside of this family. This is what people expect of him. And people love him. People around him find him to be kind and warm. They're playing trumpet. They're having too much to drink. And then the girls vanish. And that moment at which the girls vanish, you see this guardian angel begin this descent into, he becomes a monster. He becomes an absolutely terrifying, probably one of the scariest people I've ever seen committed to film. And Hugh Jackman does a phenomenal job performing as him, but he becomes this monster because he believes that he must protect his daughter. A guardian angel must guard. That is his only position in the family in his mind. And he ceases to be all of the other identities that he has for this family. And I actually want to cut to a clip right now because this is such an important scene for me in how his family sees him and how he sees himself.
Please make her go home. Please make her.
How many of these? How many of these? How many of these?
I don't know.
Okay, that's all right. Just take one.
I just want to sleep. I just want to go to sleep. You made me feel so safe. You told us that you could protect us from everything.
I'm gonna go out and help the police. Just keep an eye on it.
This is the prison he's built around himself as his identity in his family, is that his wife is so destroyed by what happened. She's taking medication to just exit this world because her belief was he could keep them safe. And now that has gone away because there's nothing that could penetrate your family more than having your young daughter taken. And so he proceeds to take steps that I think any father could potentially justify. And I'm curious.
Yeah.
So we were just talking about father of a young daughter. We're dealing with another situation in which a young girl is at extreme risk, or in this case, past, right? At what point do you think Keller Dover goes too far?
So that is such a good question, because you talk about him being a person who goes into this descent into darkness, right? And it's kind of a slow descent, right?
It's a 2.5 hour descent.
Right.
Yeah. Literally. We had a much longer runtime on this one.
But we start out with it being established that this is a guy, like you very expertly point out, like, was kind of doing it all right. Like he was doing everything he was supposed to do. He said that he could protect the family, and then did everything,
and he even
that
did
one
the work.
would do.
He
right?
did the work to protect his family.
Right? It wasn't empty. And then he just took this series of steps where he's reacting to what's going on, and he gets to a place that is unbelievably dark. It's horrible. It's indefensible. But it's really, really hard to begrudge him any of those individual steps.
So I'm going to push on you again. When do you think he goes too far?
The shower?
So let's walk through, right? So he believes, and there's a lot of good reasons to believe, that Paul Dano's character, Alex Jones, no relation. I know. That was tough. That was tough. Alex Jones, this mentally handicapped boy who lives with his aunt, has taken the daughter. And the reason he believes this is, there's, again,
really good reasons.
There was a dirty RV that was parked out front that the girls climbed on before they were abducted. Alex Jones attempts to get away from the police when they contact them, when Jake Gyllenhaal's character, Detective Loki, is introduced, and he's driving into the forest trying to get away. He won't say anything to the police, and they eventually release him. But when Keller Dover attacks him, he says something really horrifying that says they weren't crying.
They didn't cry until I left them.
He says they didn't cry until I left them. I had to go back and turn on the subtitles to make sure I knew exactly what he said. They didn't cry.
We'll revisit that line later.
Yeah. And he's singing the song that they were singing that day as well, which anybody could sing. It's the Batman Smells, Robin laid an egg version of Jingle Bells, but he's specifically singing that on the day. And then you also get this nice little touch. And these are the moments where this is where I'm like, storytelling and filmmaking so good, where he's out walking the dog and he just lifts it up by the collar and starts choking it for no reason. No one's watching him. He believes that no one's watching him, but Keller's watching him. And he holds it for a moment. It yipes. It's such a painful scene to watch. You see him torturing this animal.
Yep.
And then set it down. And then start walking. And that's right before Keller abducts him. And so he has a million good reasons to believe that Alex Jones either abducted his daughter or knows where she is.
Knows something that he's not sharing. Yep.
And so he abducts Alex Jones. And he brings him to an old building that his father owned and passed on to him and is now all boarded up. And he ties him up in the bathroom and proceeds to torture him. And the torture it starts rough and gets rougher. He involves the Birches in it, which I think we need to talk about their involvement and where they sort of draw the line and their sort of fuzzy line.
Their fuzzy line is, I love that the line's fuzzy.
I love that the line is fuzzy because this is, I think, how a lot of us approach violence in the world is we're willing to allow other people to do it for our own safety and we're going to just look the other way. And this is something that the Birches make this choice together because they can't handle watching it, but they also don't have the nerves to stop it. But so where is that line?
Yeah. So
like as a father, your daughter's taken. Where do you go?
God,
I know. I'm putting you so on the
question
spot.
without an answer.
Well, obviously.
But so yeah, he captures him, he tortures him, he tries to get information out of him, and it goes nowhere. He involves the Birches. He involves Franklin Birch.
Played by Terrence Howard, who honestly, what a great understated performance.
Yeah, it's a really
so
small
vulnerable
role, but very good. And he breaks Franklin before he breaks Alex, right?
And this is again where I'm going to come back to Deakins too. The scene where he breaks him is superb because you have Keller, who starts off as this guardian angel and sort of descends into this dark, unlit building that's only lit by like construction equipment, all artificial lighting, which they used almost exclusively on set and natural light to light this entire movie. There was almost no film lighting used. And when Franklin breaks, he's in the corner half lit by the artificial light and half descend into darkness. Yeah. And it just is telling the story with light that is phenomenal.
And so Franklin goes home. He admits to his wife, Nancy, like what's going on. He brings Nancy there. Nancy has this moment where she struggles with recognizing Alex's humanity. She falls into mom mode.
And you see his face, though. You see this is the first time you see the result of the violence in that Keller has beaten him until his face is a balloon of purple and blood. Yeah. He looks like a cartoon figure. You can no longer recognize Paul Dano underneath what they've done to it. And they're very, very careful with how they handle violence. And I'm just going to preview this too. We talked about directors who hate violence with Green Room and whether we believed it. Denis Villeneuve spoke very, very much on how much he hates violence and why he made this movie the way he did. And we're going to talk about that too. Yeah. But
and so Nancy like has a moment where she's almost maternal towards Alex. And the Birches make a decision of we're not going to participate anymore, but we're also not going to stop him.
Yeah. They decide they're not going to call the police. They're not going to tell on him. They're going to let him proceed with the torture, but they will no longer participate with it because of the damage it's doing to them.
Yeah. And then what Keller does is he basically boxes Alex into the shower, like rigs the water to either be ice cold or scalding hot, and leaves him there, leaves him in the darkness, leaves him in a prison. And then basically just turns on the hot water when he feels like he needs to feel some pain. And I think at that point, that's when it felt like he went from desperately trying to find his daughter to trying to punish Alex.
There is a pivot where he's punishing Alex for not telling him, as opposed to trying to get Alex to tell him.
Yeah.
And that pivot in torture,
Talk about fuzzy lines.
Talk about fuzzy lines. Well, this movie also, I mean, it could not be more critical of using violence to get information, because the only times you ever get information out of Alex is actually when someone's kind to him.
Yeah. And
he only says like one thing, and it's actually when Keller breaks down outside of the shower, and he's just like, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
I just want my daughter back.
That's the way to find. What? What did you say? It's the maze. What maze? Where's the maze? Where do I find it? Alex, listen.
And then he starts torturing him again, and then Alex clams up again.
yeah, and I think that critique of using violence it's so good. It's so apt, right? Like something that is true in the real world is when you look at convictions that are overturned, the vast majority, like it's a huge number. I struggle to put a number on it because I'll get it wrong, but it's like in the like somewhere between like 70 and 90% include a false confession.
Yeah.
Right. And so we know that this doesn't work. But up until that point, I kind of understand the desperation.
Well, there's almost a
You can
religious
empathize.
There's almost a religious belief that it does, and I think this comes back to his religious roots. Is like you can look at all the data in the world and say that this doesn't work, but when you feel like,
But your daughter's gone.
well, your daughter's gone, but you also feel like you are faced with a question that is unanswerable. These girls vanished without a trace. This is the greatest mystery. No one can solve it. They have the best detective, Loki, which we have to talk about him as well.
Yeah, because
on
it's
the
established
case.
early on. Loki has a perfect record of solving cases.
He solved every case, and he's not solving this case. And so when you're faced with religious mystery of what possibly could have happened, will you turn towards the only tools that you could possibly have? Because there isn't something else that's going to take care of this. And he feels this deep responsibility to find his daughter, because he's the guardian. He knows that she's wherever she is thinking, my dad's here to protect me, and he is currently failing me.
Yeah.
And we see it through the mother, but we know in the daughter that is what's happening. And so he does. And the descent into darkness, I mean, this movie we could spend hours on it, but it ends with him literally in a pit in darkness where he has been abducted himself, and he could potentially die. And the reason that people aren't looking for him is because he has gone from being a victim to, in fact, being a fugitive. And the way they're going to look for a fugitive is different than the way they're going to look for a victim. And so at the end of the film, when he's in the pit, they think he's run away because he's gotten caught for capturing Alex Jones and torturing him the way he did, when in fact he's been captured too. Which I think is sort of brings me into my next point that I want to talk about, which is the way Loki treats victims versus the way he treats suspects.
Yeah.
And I think this is an incredibly fascinating element of this film as well. So Loki's a detective played by Jake Gyllenhaal. This character was so rounded out by Gyllenhaal. So apparently it was a pretty flat character when they got the script. And Denis Villeneuve trusted Gyllenhaal so much after working with him on Enemy. He said, fill this character out. Figure him out. Give him a story. Give him a background. Give him something that makes him feel real, feel textured, and not just feel like another detective cop that's searching for a missing girl. This was really important to them to find this character and make him feel textured. And they might have gone overboard. If I'm being honest, I do like this movie, but they went really hard into costuming, into makeup, and into backstory with this character to the point where he almost comes off almost distracting from the story. But what I think is interesting about it is that they decided that Loki had been in a boys' home and that he disconnected from everyone else. And he has all these tattoos because he believes, because he has like astrology signs on his knuckles and he wears a Mason ring, is that he believes that like he can solve anything with logic. Like whatever the thing is like there's some type of reason, there's some type of something behind it. And he's attached himself from all human beings in order to do that. But it results in him coming off as being a very cold and difficult person to be around, which creates a bunch of tension between him and Dover's family and Birch's family because he treats them like a job.
Yeah. Yeah, he seems very uncaring.
He couldn't seem more uncaring. In fact, he almost never makes eye contact with when you watch the scenes with Keller. He speaks to them almost exclusively in just sort of cop terminology of like, just trust us, we got this. And
he's very dismissive of anything they want to share, any ideas that they have.
Yeah.
The family's not a partner in the investigation. They're in the way of him and his methodology.
Well, because he's cold logic. He is going to solve this puzzle. He's going to solve this maze. And there was a lot of marketing used around the mazes in it. And that's a really important image in here that I think is worth diving into too. And any of the emotion that's coming from the Dovers, and there's a lot between the pain of the mother completely checking out of life, between the anger and fury of Keller and how he's handling it. And he sees all of this as a distraction. But I mean, the great irony is he allows it to distract him when he starts to follow Keller. This is a longer clip, by the way.
Your wife thinks you've been helping us. We both know that's not true.
Yeah, I don't think you can talk about this movie without this clip.
I used a lie to bury our dog last year. And helping the cops sounds better than I've been driving aimlessly in my truck because I don't know what the fuck else to do.
Is that what we were doing last Saturday night?
Driving aimlessly.
Probably my suspect.
No, I'm only asking. I'm only asking because you assaulted a man who's now missing.
I heard about that. What happened to him? Thought you had him under surveillance.
I'm going to assume that you're asking me because you have no idea.
Yeah, well, I didn't think it was something I could get away with.
It's not.
Yeah, well, it couldn't be that he skipped down because the asshole was guilty. Oh, it couldn't be that, right? Because that'd mean it'd be your fault, right?
Mr. Dover. Mr. Dover.
What?
You need to take care of yourself and your wife. That's the best thing you can do right now. That little girl is gonna need you when she comes home.
Kid's gone for more than a week. Have half as good a chance of being found. And after a month, almost none are not alive. All right? So forgive me for doing everything I can.
You know what? It hasn't been a fucking week.
You're right. Day
hasn't been a
fucking
week.
6. Day 6. And every day, she's wondering why I'm not there to fucking rescue her.
All right.
Do you understand that?
Right.
Me, not you, but me. Every day.
All right.
So forgive me for not going home to have a good night's rest.
This is one of the only scenes where Loki and Keller actually engage with one another. And this is another instance where, like, listening to it here on the pod, I'm like, the soundscape.
I was having the same thought. I was like, gosh, we were talking about the cinematography, but the sound in that scene is unbelievable.
Yeah. The rain hitting is like a clock ticking, and you can feel it. And when he says it's day 6, like, they don't give you a sense of time in this movie. In fact, this movie does a really good job of letting you know that time is passing. But because everyone is in so much fear, anxiety, anger, and because the light, and we will talk about the light more, the light never really changes. It's always overcast, that you don't get a sense of like what time of day it is, because it's just sort of this silver light. And this scene really lays out the distinction between the two, but also how Loki has now allowed the emotion to actually get in the way of the investigation because he now thinks that Keller's a suspect. And the movie doesn't give you much. The movie doesn't really. I was wrong about who abducted the girls.
I was surprised as well.
I was dead wrong and surprised and angry at myself for being that way. But Loki is on the wrong track for the better part of the movie. He's being led around.
And here is something that I really like is Loki is very methodical. He has his process. He's trying to do the puzzle, and he finds all the right pieces, but cannot make them fit together. Every lead that he hunts down is connected, does have the potential to get him closer to a resolution.
Yeah.
And he doesn't realize it, and it ironically makes each one of those clues a diversion.
It's so interesting that you have all the right clues. I love that you put it that way. So they specifically shot Loki so that he always was looking at everything through obscured views. He's always sitting in a car looking through rain on a glass. When he comes to the Joneses' home, all the glass is dirty. He can't see into the home very well until he actually walks in. It's actually cleaner in other scenes. They were very keen on making sure that everything he saw was obscured. He's looking at things through trees often, or chasing David Dalmatian's character at night, who you think, like, that's the moment when he finds that character who is touching the bear and goes running away from him. You're like, that person's acting guilty. Everybody who's acting guilty, they must have the answers, or they must be connected to this in some way. And I was 100% bought into the fact that he was the person. Why
else would he?
Why would he run? Why would he be buying little kids' clothing at this secondhand store? Why would he have blood all over the clothing? Like, what's going on with these various characters? And this is, again, what I absolutely love about this movie. So its take on violence, but it's also its take on victimhood. The people that you believe, based on the way they act and the way they look, would be child kidnappers, child molesters. They're just victims. They're all victims. They behave that way because they were victimized by something terrible, and now they act weird.
Yeah.
And now they act
broken.
They're broke because they're broken people. Dalmatian's character is reliving the moments that he had to go through as a child. He's play acting them out to take control over it, which is something that people do. Like, there's a deep, harsh reality to that character, but there's something so scary about him because of the way he is that you assume he has taken the girls. And the victims in this movie, nobody goes through more horror again because they were victims than the victims again. Between Dalmatian being captured, arrested, and ultimately committing suicide because he thinks he's going to be taken for this, not to mention the various other neuroses and probably pain that he's going through, and the absolute terror that Alex Jones goes through when you find out both of them were taken by the actual true.
Well, yes. Go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So we find out who actually takes these girls, and it's Alex's aunt.
Yeah, not even aunt. Yeah,
not
abductor.
even aunt. We find out that she actually kidnapped Alex when he was 7 years old.
Yeah.
And then it brings me back to that line of they didn't cry until they left him, because it is perceived as a menacing taunt, but it's actually a misguided attempt at comfort.
I know.
And it's crushing when you make that realization.
The movie, the way it plays with what you think is happening based on what you assume about people in the world and how they behave, and who you think the bad guys are and where you think evil comes from, and how you realize that you're just dead wrong about these people, and that these people are hurt and they're in pain and they're victims of this incredible violence, and now they're being victimized again because of it. It implicates you as a viewer. It literally,
exactly.
and this is where casting Paul Dano and David Dalmatian in these two roles, nobody looks more like a child molester than those two actors. They both look like
creeps.
They both look like creeps. They've always looked like creeps. This is perfect, pitch perfect casting. I'm sorry, Tarantino. This is an instance. I'm not a big Dano fan. I'll just put it out there.
Yeah.
But this is an
and
instance.
I don't even think Dano's that good in this, but he is well cast.
He's so well cast in it, and he does the job. He absolutely does the job as this character, Alex Jones, where he just can't talk about what happened because of fear, because of the way in which he's broken. And it all radiates out from, you find this clue. The clue that unlocks all of it is the one that seems to not connect to anything, which is a dead body in this old child molester priest's basement.
Yeah.
And it's all connected to that medallion. Did you clock the medallion when you saw it?
No.
I 100% did.
Oh, you did?
I did. I saw that medallion,
but I didn't clock it until they made it obvious in the movie.
I want to be clear on something. I did clock it. I still didn't solve the mystery, even with it. And that was one of the big marketing ploys for this movie, is that it is an unsolvable maze, is that you will watch this movie and that you will not solve this maze. And the reality is you go back and you watch it and you're like, of course it was the aunt. Everything points towards her. And for some reason, you can't see it. Your view is so obscured. And on the topic of obscured views, let's do a little behind the scenes trivia on this movie.
Okay.
Denis Villeneuve and Roger Deakins shot this movie in a way in which light was really intended to tell a story. And if you watch the light, they said you could solve the mystery, but only if you watch the light. And I need to rewatch it because I didn't solve the mystery, even knowing that. That was all I knew going in.
I didn't know that, so now I need to rewatch it watching the light.
Yeah.
And see if I can backwards.
But they were so keen on the type of light that this movie was going to use. I think I've railed on this on the podcast. I know I've railed on it in real life, but I hate desaturated blue movies. I know I've posted about it on Twitter. I'm so tired of seeing movies that are black and blue.
You've railed on it.
Okay,
in
good.
Real life, on the podcast, on the internet. I think,
if
you broke into a church one day and delivered the sermon.
If there's somebody who doesn't want to hear about my feelings on cinematography in blue, they're going to hear it. They were so keen on not having that blue look or the quote unquote golden look of Hollywood. They shot this film in Atlanta, and they would only shoot on days in which they had, and I quote, silver light caused by that overcast. And so there were times where they would have to sit and wait and wait and wait for the absolute right light to shoot this movie because it was so important to them.
Well, getting darkness without blue is like near impossible, right?
It's very, very difficult. And they achieved it. I mean, this movie is gorgeously shot, and it feels like a documentary. And I think that's something that Deakins always does well. Villeneuve was a documentarian prior to becoming a narrative filmmaker, or a fictional narrative filmmaker, I guess, because documentary is still narrative. Doesn't
I know what you mean.
Anyway, self-editing. And so they wanted it to have that very real feel. And it's achieved, I think, absolutely brilliantly. Again, Deakins is awesome. But at one point, Deakins and Villeneuve went out to the forest and shot trees for 2 hours while Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal were in their trailers, and it was costing them how many ever thousands of dollars an hour while they were at 2 hours shooting trees because they wanted the exact right feeling of the trees as bars, as obscuring your view of what's going on, and knowing that you feel like you're sort of trapped by
it's a very claustrophobic movie.
It is a very claustrophobic movie, and they were trying to achieve that. And apparently the producers lit him up for it.
Yeah. I mean, of course, a producer, it's their job to light him up for something like that.
Yeah. When the movie was released and screened and they were doing the big barbecue where everybody got together and they were celebrating the success of this really fantastic film that they just made, the producer apologized and was like, that was the best shot of the movie. Yeah. You were right. Like, you were right to go shoot trees for 2 hours. And I think that that is something that is both. Here's the thing. We hear about indulgent directors all the time mistreating actors.
Yeah.
If you're going to be indulgent, I like that kind of.
Do it to a tree.
Do it to a tree.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, I like that kind of story because it does give.
I like this anecdote because it's the producer lit him up for it, but he got to do it. Right?
He did get to do it.
Like,
he did.
And this is a movie that I just looked it up because I was curious. $46 million budget, right? Like, it's not a cheap movie.
No, it was not
It's
cheap.
my favorite kind of movie. We talk about that $25 to $50 million budget tends to be where magic happens.
Most of it was Hugh Jackman, though.
Yeah.
Getting Hugh Jackman for this role was a really big get for them. He wanted to do something like this. Jake Gyllenhaal was already on board because he'd worked with Villeneuve, and he was like, this is a director who is going to push me in all of these ways.
God, I love Gyllenhaal.
Generally
speaking, we reward big swings, and he is a guy.
That guy only swings big.
He could have Ryan Reynolds' career, but he has Jake Gyllenhaal's career. You know?
He has made so many of my favorite underappreciated films.
Yeah.
I will always go to bat for Jarhead. His work with Sam Mendes on that is just amazing. Although I'm not a Donnie Darko fan, where you got to start. Never really.
That's one of those movies that you like when you're young.
Yeah.
And then you grow out of it.
Yeah. But going back to those obscured views, I think Loki is the king of the obscured view. And they do an amazing job of telling his story of not being able to see anything clearly, despite the fact that he sees everything so logically and not being able to put those pieces together, even though he has the key to the puzzle. There's another great scene in which I think it's right after Dalmatian kills himself in the interrogation room because he gets his hand on a gun because Loki loses it, gets emotional, and attacks him.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes back to his desk, slams his keyboard down. You know the scene I'm talking about. But it's a top-down shot, so it looks like all of the pieces are just sort of being moved on a board. And on the floor, for no reason, there's just a division sign.
Oh, interesting.
And he is just so separated, not just from any kind of emotional life. I mean, he's at a diner on Thanksgiving by himself when you first meet him. At a Chinese diner, and he's not even really flirting, like looking for anything outside of that. He is so connected to his career that he's even separated from the other police. The police don't come anywhere near him. Yeah. And he is divided from them. It's a little heavy, but I'm like, maybe it's plugs on the floor that they were trying to use in that way, but it works just phenomenally well.
Yeah.
So I think we need to probably wrap up this movie. We've been on it for a good long while.
There's one more, I think, like really good head fake, similar to the "they didn't cry until they left them." That I just want to point out. We don't have to dive deep into it.
Yeah.
But so we find out that like the motivation for all of these kidnappings is that Alex's not aunt and her husband, who is the body in the priest's basement, had a child who died of cancer, and it broke their faith, and they waged a war on God. Right?
They want to turn people into monsters.
Turn people into monsters. They want to take people's kids away so that they lose their faith and become monsters.
Yeah.
And it works.
It works phenomenally well.
But the head fake I like is that the priest killed the man because the man came to confess his sin of murdering these 16 kids. But by the end of it, when you get the full picture, he wasn't confessing a sin. He was mocking God. He went there to brag about the war he had been waging. And I just think like that, I don't know, that just hit me.
There's something about the way violence radiates out from the center of that maze. That's not a maze. It really is a cancer.
Yeah.
Like that's the way I walk away from the movie. There is no journey to the center of it. There's no understanding at the middle of this. It is, I mean, at the center of this, there is a child died of cancer, and that is chaotic pain that you can't handle. That is the chaotic pain that Dr. Stone is dealing with in a completely different way in Gravity. And that is the chaotic pain that the Joneses are dealing with by abducting children and taking away people's faith. And that there is no easy answer as to why this all happened. And that it is just a war on God. It's a war on faith. It's a war on our ability to remain human when we are faced with the most difficult questions, with the most difficult pain. It is why I think when Denis Villeneuve says that he hates violence and he makes a movie that is this difficult to watch from a violence perspective, I 100% believe him.
Yeah.
Because there is nothing, even Green Room, I was like, okay. I was like, I'll go along with you, even though some of the violence feels a little bit for spectacle's sake.
And it pays off a little bit in that one.
There's nothing in this film that feels like the violence. The violence hurts. It hurts to watch. And the way I think that what I love about this movie is that it shows more the way that it hurts the people who transgress.
The perpetrator, yeah.
Than it does the person who has the violence inflicted upon them. It's an incredible act of protest, at least to my mind, of this movie. And it's why I love the movie as much as I do. And it's why I'm so glad that we watched it, that we chose it, that I went back and checked it out, because it has, I think it tells a really, really phenomenal, larger story than itself, not unlike Gravity, in a relatively small and understandable story, albeit difficult to solve mystery.
Yeah. Yeah, it's another one that I'd like to watch again, because I'm curious in a similar way to Gravity. What does this movie feel like unburdened by the mystery?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat, because I did not solve that mystery. I would never have guessed it was Holly Jones taking those kids just to do it, even though every single clue is right in front of you.
Yeah.
So it did commit the same movie sin, though. I will call it out.
Your movie sin.
My movie sin. Hugh Jackman, when he is convincing Franklin Birch, so Keller Dover is convincing Franklin Birch, Terrence Howard's character, to basically hold down Alex Jones while he beats him. He says to him, he's not a person anymore. He took our daughters. He's not a person anymore. I've made my choice. And I'm like, you don't need to say that.
Yeah.
You don't, the fact that you're dehumanizing him, you're physically doing it. It's being done through the film. It is so beautifully performed that we did not need that line. And I'm surprised, because Denis Villeneuve recently famously said, and I quote, "I hate dialogue." And the internet exploded. They were so mad at him. How can you hate dialogue? And he was like, well, it's a visual medium, and we overuse dialogue all the time, and we need to tell our stories. And I think that this film does an incredible job of using sound and light to tell a story, and the dialogue is actually, for a very plotty movie,
It's sparse.
It's very sparse. One other little fun fact, Hugh Jackman was so in character when he was in there beating him that he, when he yelled at Alex Jones to tell him the information, he broke the microphone. It like they had to replace it.
Internally blew it out.
Yeah, internally blew it out. That's how loud he yells. And they kept the sound in there and just mixed it down, because they're like, there's so much rage and fury in it that they cut outside of the building and just let it play.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
It's a really good movie. It's a good movie. All right. Well, I think we have one more good movie on the lineup. We're going to go to break, right?
We're going to go to break, and then we will come back and see the headliner.
we will be back shortly with more The Screen Hoppers.
Welcome back to The Screen Hoppers. Ian, we just spent a lot of time talking about two really good movies.
And somehow it feels like it wasn't enough time.
I know. I don't think you can do those two movies perfect justice. I think there's always going to be more we can talk about. I think if I watched it again, either one of them, I'd have more. But we are now at the place where we are here to talk about the movie that we ostensibly showed up for.
Ostensibly, yeah.
We are talking about The Hunger Games, Catching Fire. Last week we talked The Hunger Games. Like you said in the intro, felt natural to go right into Catching Fire. It's also on the list of the 100 highest grossing movies of all time. It's a series that last week we established we are both fans of.
Yeah.
And so I was not sad to get to watch this one again.
Yeah, it was nice to do them in sequence as well. I wonder if we should do that more in the future, because there are several
when the opportunity exists, I think maybe we should be deliberate about that.
Yeah. But especially with these ones, of the blockbusters that are on this list, these are definitely two, and I mentioned in the last episode, that really caught me off guard. I was not prepared for movies as violent, as dark as these to be such huge box office hits.
Yeah, these ones are, this is going to sound so pretentious, but they're the popcorn movies that do transcend into being cinema, I think.
Yeah, they do sort of what like earlier Nolan did. They do an interesting dance. I mean, honestly, what we talked about, Gravity almost made this list. They do what that film does, which is they find a way to sort of Shakespeare it up. It appeals to the masses, but there's also something there if you want to sink your teeth into it and explore it more.
Yeah. But you don't have to, which I actually think is to the movie's credit. You can enjoy these Hunger Game movies just as lightish.
Well, yeah, there's enough romance, there's enough spectacle, there's enough action in there that it is a fun movie to go see in theaters.
Yeah, there is romance, kind of.
There's enough.
There's
enough. I think, I mean, in this one particular, they do set up more of the Gale and Peeta decision for Katniss and the various identities. Do we want to
triangle of sorts?
Well, sort of. And this is where, again, I really love these movies and where they have a lot of depth. Is it's when her relationship is mediated, and this media is such an important part of this narrative in Catching Fire. Then she is with Peeta, and when her relationship is on the down low, or she thinks that it is, then she has love for Gale. Can she reconcile these two identities, this one that's mediated and her personal life? And I think that, this speaks to fame. This speaks to people out there who are trying to become famous, who maybe are publishing their faces and their voices out there online and hoping people listen to them.
Oh, those people are
those
the worst.
People, they're so obnoxious. But maybe there's a lesson in there for all of us, is like, how do you reconcile these two identities? And it's something I do enjoy about the movie. And it's something I think that this movie does better than the first. Even though I think a lot of what's happening in this movie is similar to the first, only a little sharper.
This is my favorite of the Hunger Games movies.
It was my favorite prior to this watching. I think the first one is now my favorite.
And the reason is the stuff that I liked most about the first movie is all of this movie.
Well, and maybe that's why I like the first one better now too, is because it feels like a second swing at the same sort of ideas.
Yeah, it takes the most interesting ideas and sort of fleshes them out a bit. It is a little more on the nose, I think, with how it handles those ideas. You talk about your movie sins. I don't think it kind of falls into sin level, but it definitely tells us a little bit more about things that it sort of showed us in the first movie.
It was more subtext in the first movie, but in all fairness, as someone who didn't read the book, and I remember from our prior episode, I was asking a lot of questions about it because I didn't feel that the subtext was quite strong enough that I was picking up on what life looked like in District 12, for instance. I just wasn't there with it. And it's like these people are supposed to be starving, but they all look really healthy. And so I think that at least this movie, if they're not going to starve their actors, which fair, you don't need to Christian Bale it.
No.
But if your actors are going to look as, and this is not body shaming, I think everybody looks fine in this movie. Like, I know Jennifer Lawrence got lots of stuff for her, like round cheeks or whatever as a child, which is fucked up.
Let's all pretend that Jennifer Lawrence is not hot and criticize her for not being emaciated enough.
But they don't look emaciated, and the characters are supposed to be starving. And so I do think that if you're not going to do it visually, then you have to tell me. And at least this movie does. And so I appreciated that, and that it rounds out the universe for me a little bit more as a non-reader of the books, which a movie should never expect that you've read the books.
Yeah, so I think what's good about this movie is in our discussion of the Hunger Games, you actually mentioned, like, of course, society is going to revolt in this scenario, right? That the revolution, the backlash to all of the oppression coming from the Capitol is inevitable. That
well, specifically that the Hunger Games are going to expedite that, because the people that feel like they need to pay penance for the uprising have either passed on or forgotten. And so now the people that are paying the penance have no connection to it.
Yeah, and you talked about how Snow was misguided in thinking that he could use the Hunger Games to suppress that, when the natural reaction would be that it would be an accelerant.
Yes.
And in this movie, Snow starts to see it all unravel, starts to see that revolution accelerate. And so he tries to double down on the Hunger Games, and it completely blows up in his face.
And this is all connected to the fact that Katniss and Peeta are bad actors. Katniss more than Peeta, but she's such a bad actor that people don't believe her.
We are all of us united, both victors and vanquished, in serving a common purpose, the power and glory of the Capitol.
Tell us what you really think.
Panem today, Panem tomorrow, Panem forever.
I love how flat she delivers that, because she's not an actor. She's a country girl.
Yeah.
Your hair looks lovely, darling. When did you start wearing it like that?
Everyone at school wears it like this now, Grandpa.
I left that clip on the end of the victory thing, because I actually think this is really well done, is that you see that Katniss's acting is so bad that the revolution does not believe her. They can see through the act, and they know that she knows that she doesn't believe what she's saying, and that allows her to then map their own feelings onto her, which is they want to tear down the government. That's not even actually the way she feels. And that's actually something I really like about this movie, is you see her as this symbol of revolution, but she really just wants to be left alone.
Yeah, I think she's, because this happens after her District 11 speech, where she is more genuine, right? She doesn't want to give a speech at all. Then she sees Rue's family, and she sort of eulogizes Rue in a very real way.
Yeah, I cried at that scene. Yeah.
And then, and that inspires an act of protest from the audience that is met with violence, talking about violence. And then she reacts to that in a very like raw, real way. And so this flat delivery is a reaction, I think, on her part to that. But I agree. I don't think Katniss is trying to foment anything.
I don't think she is.
I think she is disgusted by it and wants nothing, not the revolution. She's disgusted by the world that she lives in, the circumstances, but she wants nothing to do with it. She just wants to be able to live her life removed from it as innocently, I guess, as is possible given the circumstances.
Yeah.
But it's not possible.
Well, she's unable to numb the way she feels. And I think, Hey Mitch is a great sort of map for a direction you can go when you are disgusted by what's going on, but you want to just live your life unmolested, and you can drink. Like that. Yeah. That is a way to deal with this particular type of problem. But Katniss, there's something about Katniss that is genuine, that is real, but that is also just like doesn't. Again, it comes down to like she doesn't understand how media works. She doesn't understand how performance works. And because she doesn't, she becomes this incredible tool for people to map all of their feelings and impressions onto. So the Capitol, and this is why I left in the line about the braid, sees her as a fashion icon. But that means she's starting to take over the culture at the Capitol. So they have a love for her that involves like wanting to emulate her, wanting to be like her, wanting to, fashion their hair. And I guess there was something left out of the movie that is sort of like vaguely, that's in the book, but sort of vaguely there. And I actually did look into this. She's wearing that like knitted sweater early on. It's like a scarf or infinity scarf type thing. Apparently, every single victor is supposed to have some type of special skill they invest their time into. But Katniss is just like, I'm a hunter. Like, that's not a skill I can invest my time into. And so they decided to make her a fashion designer. And Senna, in the book, apparently, like, basically secretly making clothing so that can be her thing. And then people start to emulate what she's wearing. And so then you have that happen in the Capitol. Meanwhile, you have people in the lower districts seeing her and saying, oh, she's being forced to say these things, but she's actually revolutionary. She's sending me a secret message to say, to tear down the system, to fight back, to do these things. And all of it is, it's not really what she's communicating. It's sort of her decision to not communicate that results in a really messy media environment and media relationship, which it's part of what makes these movies really smart. Like, I love that she is sort of an unwilling participant on both sides of this cultural debate.
Yeah, and I think what the movie, with this story, the book does it too, is it runs with that, right? Because there is all of this machination happening behind the scenes involving Katniss, but not involving Katniss. That, you know, there's alliances formed. There's this whole plan by the revolutionaries to really elevate her as a symbol and protect her and ensure that she survives. But she's not clued in on it because even they know she won't participate.
Well, it's not just they won't know she won't participate. I actually think it goes back to they know she's a bad actor. Every other victor is a great performer. They all put on their face, they do their act, and whether they believe it or don't believe it, you can't really tell. In fact, what's the character's name we were just talking about that we really like?
Fennec?
Fennec, yeah. Fennec's a great example of somebody who's a superb actor. He deals in secrets. He gets people to give him information. He knows how to play the game, but he actually is a revolutionary. He does not believe in this world, but nobody knows that about him. If they told Katniss what the plan was, to your point, she probably wouldn't participate. But even if they held her feet to the fire and made her participate,
she'd fuck it up.
She'd fuck it up. She would do a poor job. In fact, this again goes back to why Snow is so bad at his job. He's the worst authoritarian you'll ever meet because he tells Katniss, he
shows up at her house. He's like, here's my plan.
And says, here's my plan. And she can't carry it out. She's the wrong person to deliver his message because she is terrible at convincing people of anything. I mean, the only people that she can convince of anything is she can convince Peeta, kind of, that she loves him, but that's only because he's a teenage boy and he's willing to believe that from any pretty girl. But nobody else is buying any of her bullshit in it, which is what makes, again, this movie for me really, really interesting, is that you have a bad liar at the center of it that sparks a revolution.
I agree with you.
Well, I'm glad we agree. Let's run down some facts of this movie because this one it came out really fast.
It did.
It's
18-month turnaround is wild.
Yeah. With the kind of money that they made, though, it makes a lot of sense. But it's also super
and correct
interesting.
me if I'm wrong, but didn't Jennifer Lawrence do Silver Linings Playbook and like win the Oscar in between these two movies?
I don't know. Did she?
I think she
You
might
look that
have.
up while I do a little marketing stuff because I always love when the marketing department didn't watch the movie. It's my favorite. We talked about this with another film
she
recently.
did.
She did?
Yeah.
Good for her. They leaned into a victory tour strategy.
Yes.
For the marketing. Did you read about this?
No, but that's hilarious.
Yeah. So they did some in-world marketing. They launched Capital Couture, high fashion Tumblr blog, partnered with CoverGirl for a Capital collection. It was this weird marketing where they were like trying to get people to like buy in. We talked about like with Indiana Jones where people like bought leather jackets and watches and things to look like indie back then. And so this was all like dress like you're from the Capitol, dress like you're from like your Effie trinket and like put on this makeup. And the whole thing is it's like this movie is criticizing this shallow, hollow distraction that's being fed to the upper classes while the lower classes are like literally being murdered and eaten alive. And the Lionsgate marketing department was like, yeah, let's lean into that.
I mean, we can laugh and criticize all we want, but it is one of the 100 highest grossing movies of all time.
It's number 70. I'm not criticizing Lionsgate for doing it. This is just a moment where like, I lose faith in humanity.
I was going to say, I think it says more about us than it does about Lionsgate.
It's that you mentioned you can watch it, enjoy it as a popcorn movie, right? But I think you can enjoy something as a popcorn movie, but still identify some of the major themes that are within it. But I really do wonder sometimes This is, it's my Scarface American Psycho thing all the time. It's like you watch the movie, but did you get the movie? Did you understand what it was saying about authoritarianism? Did you understand what it was saying about like fashion and media and distraction? Or are you one of the capital participants? Are you one of the people that would stand by? Are you the Birches who would just let the violence happen and say, well, at least it's not getting my hands dirty? And I don't know. It's like, I don't expect movies to change the world, but I also don't expect people to watch them and just not get the primary theme, the one that's like in your face.
Well, but I think what makes this worth talking about is what you just described happening kind of in real life is the bet that Snow is making in the movie, right? He is sort of assuming that most people are going to maybe just be the Birches. Right.
Yeah. And in a society with a stronger middle class, he probably would have been right.
Right. And so the fact that it doesn't work out. Yes, he's a bad revolutionary, but he's only a bad revolutionary or a bad authoritarian because he goes a little too hard. Right.
Well, he goes too hard, but he also doesn't know. We talked about branding and pivoting. At 75 years, you pivot. Because
if he would have
they've
just
lost the memory.
Moderated it a smidge, he probably could have held on to power.
I think if he would have evolved it over the last 25 years into something that made more sense and that actually pacified people who didn't have a memory of the uprising, but he fails to do that. And as a result, and again, I think Snow's a fool. I mean, he is a fool. He allows everything to crumble around him. Everybody around him. Plutarch is obviously manipulating him.
Right. And I mean, spoiler alert for the next couple of movies, the next book, like he's eventually deposed and executed.
Yeah.
Right.
And rightly so, because he's not because he's evil, but because he literally is terrible at his job. And so, yeah, but I mean, in our society though, yeah, I think his methods would have been successful because we are quite good at failing to recognize what art is trying to reflect. Not anyone to say teach us, because I don't think that this movie is particularly didactic, which is one of the reasons I like it. But it does reflect back to us a version of our society that, with a little bit of inspection, you can say, well, maybe we do like material goods so much that we forget about the violence and terror that happens.
And perhaps
all around the world.
That is the trick the marketing department was playing.
I mean, that is exactly the trick that the marketing department was playing. So there's that. There's also the famous elevator incident. So Jenna Malone, do you know about this?
I mean, I know the scene you're referring to. I think Jenna Malone's really great in this.
Oh my God, I love her.
So much more to do
movie.
in the later movies.
I know. She feels underutilized in this because she is electric. She's so much fun.
Good.
And like, she's one of those people where it's like, she almost feels like she's in a different movie, but she's been living in another world. And so she's sort of allowed to be like, she's in a different movie because she's been living as a victor.
Yeah.
And so her whole attitude, her whole vibe is just very different. And I love the way she adopts it. But she did, in fact, strip down into the nude in front of all of her co-stars for that scene. But they were filming it in a hotel that, like, there were people and guests. Yeah. And at one point, the doors opened and there were some people exposed. And she was standing there in the nude.
That's hilarious.
So
I like her character, though, because, we mentioned that Katniss is a bad actor. Well,
Katniss is a terrible actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is Joanna.
Oh, Joanna. I think that's how it's pronounced.
Yeah. So is she.
You think she's I don't think she's a bad actor. She's a great actor.
Oh, I don't think she's a bad actor. I think she doesn't bother acting.
I mean, kind of. She's playing some sleight of hand where you wouldn't expect her. This is like the Keller Dover thing. I wouldn't get away with it because I'm the person who would abduct him. I wouldn't get away with revolution because I'm the one who's outwardly complaining about what you're doing to me.
Yeah, like she seems to be the one who gets it, though. And she even understands.
But she's playing a couple moves ahead is what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah.
She gets the dynamic so well. She knows, like, all of this is bullshit. I am an important piece of the bullshit. And because of that, I can sort of call it out, and there's nothing they can do about it because it would be too obvious.
Which is interesting because that's what got them into trouble to begin with, is that you have Haymitch, PETA, and Katniss all calling it out and protecting Gale in that moment. And they decide, oh, the victors think they're too powerful. So now we need to introduce some threat into their lives. But I think where she's at is a little bit different because what she's realized is what she's doing is playing off the fact of what else can I lose?
Yeah.
Like you can't take anything else from me because you've already forced me back into the worst possible scenario that I can possibly imagine. But what makes her such a good actor is that she knows there's a possibility that she might live, that there's a rest. She knows the Deus Ex Machina is coming. She's aware of it.
Oh, that's fair.
And that's why I think she's such a good actor because she's one of the few people in that room that thinks that she has a better than 1 in 24 chance of surviving.
Yeah, that she knows there's a plan.
Yeah. So like all she has to do is just stay alive as opposed to like fighting and striking back. I'm actually really surprised that Fennec puts himself online as much as he does early on.
There is some backstory that is not present in this movie, and I can't remember if I'm remembering this from the books or if it is revealed in the later movies. But we learn that Joanna and Fennec are both sexually abused by Snow.
Yes. I think it's in the movie, or at least I learned it somewhere, but that does sound,
so knowing that does lay a bit of groundwork for us to really understand how much she feels like she doesn't have a life to lose.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, at any rate, like I said, this one used to be my favorite. I still think it's a really, really good film. I think it deserves its place in film history. I love that I don't love that it took 40 years, but I love that it did take that annual box office record, being held by The Exorcist, by the way, for 40 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, very different star turn by a female, right? Because that is not empowering that character at all.
Quite the opposite, in fact.
The other thing this movie does that I'll just throw out there, apropos of nothing, we talked last time that I really just want to watch the movie that is the Effie Trinket story. And this movie starts that turn of the character. Like
you do start to see a little more depth on Effie.
The walls really start to come down. She starts to see what it is, and she starts to acknowledge, I think, and understand in a more meaningful way the role that she's playing in something that is not good.
Well, I think that this is another instance in which Snow makes the terrible mistake of not, and Effie doesn't represent a huge threat at this moment, right? But he is going to sacrifice his loyalty with her because Effie only has one thing to cling on to this world. She's never had Haymitch is her only victor, and that's not somebody you want to hang out with. Like her life is spending time really with the victors. That's like her job, and he's taking away both of her victors, and she's not going to have another one. And this is where I love the imagery around the team. Like you see how she sees them, even though they're going to be thrust into this situation in which they're against one another. She's like, this is all I have. I have you guys, and I had you for such a short period of time, and now even that's being ripped away from me. So if they'd never given it to her, she probably would have been fine. But because she was given something a little extra than had taken away, and this is where Snow just keeps making mistake after mistake after mistake as he keeps doing that exact thing, which is giving a little bit more to whether it's a society, whether it's to a victor, and then saying, oh, that was too much. And then pulling it back, and they rage against it. And Effie's rage, it comes in golden bangles, but it's still her rage.
Yeah, and it is. It's just it's a piece of sort of the larger picture, like you said, of he either is authoritarianing too hard or not hard enough, and he's convinced himself that the breadcrumbs are what keep it all together, but it's actually what's feeding the fire.
Yeah. So we agree that Snow is a bad authoritarian again. This will be our last visit to the Hunger Games verse, at least without something big changing this year, because the other movies did not make the list. And so we will not get to wrap up the story. But this weekend, man, like we talked a lot about how this was a pretty fantastic movie weekend.
It's a really good weekend.
This film set a November record by coming out in November that stood for 10 years for domestic box office, which is also pretty cool. Like I love seeing films like this coming out in November, getting people excited the way that it did. It had a must-see in IMAX push as well, because I didn't get the feel of it at home. I don't know if you did, but apparently when they go up into the actual Hunger Games area, the aspect ratio changes. because all of that was shot on IMAX.
I didn't get that at home, but I
didn't get the
remembering
feel
that scene. I could see where that would be very effective.
Yeah. And so people really wanted to go see it in IMAX, which helped push it into those upper echelons. That seems to be an incredibly important part of making the top 100, at least in the last, like, let's say 20 years, is getting people
premium ticket prices.
Yeah, premium ticket prices are incredibly important. So, but yeah, like what are your thoughts on this weekend as far as like movies go?
Yeah, I mean, we said it at the beginning. I think the conversation we've had has convinced me even more. This is a weekend you could spend all day at the theater and not miss.
Yeah,
we could have each picked 2 movies and probably ended up in a similar place.
Mm-hmm.
I think, when we talk about like, oh, what should have won, what did win, like the Hunger Games is a cultural phenomenon. I don't begrudge it for being number one. I'm glad it's number one. I mean, there's much worse blockbusters out there. These are good movies.
And we will watch them.
And we'll watch them. And I also really love, we didn't talk about it too much, that Gravity was a hit.
Gravity was a big hit, and it's worth
made $700-something million at the box office.
I mean, this is its 8th week that we're going to see it, and it's still number 8 or number 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, Prisoners had fallen off pretty precipitously.
Yeah, Catching Fire, made $800-something million, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I really love it for that reason too, that we talked about all the reasons why it's this small, intimate movie about like a deep subject that's dressed as a blockbuster.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen that formula fail. And I really love that it didn't in this case. And I think that if dressing up that movie as a big space epic is what got people into the theater, like great, fantastic.
I think it's a really good lesson for filmmakers now. It's like all of these very small indie films. I just went and saw Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. And it is a sort of sci-fi genre movie, but I don't think it quite accomplished the marketing and spectacle that Gravity did. And it's probably going to be on VOD by the time this episode comes out. And I will tell everybody out there, go see it. It's really good. But if it's on VOD, like check it out at home. It was fun to see in a theater with a group. It's funny as hell. But it doesn't achieve that level of spectacle. Even though I think it has a really valuable message, it doesn't do what, like, I mean, it's almost cynical that Cuarón was like, fine, I'll make a space movie. But that cynicism resulted in a pretty superb space movie. And maybe we need a little bit more of that in our filmmakers. They're like, fine, fuck you. If that's what you want,
and then
I'll do it.
I also think Prisoners is the other side of that same coin in that it's a smaller movie. It did fine. Like it did well. It made over $100 million. Like it was a profitable movie. And it's another one where that one presents itself maybe as something else, but I think it has broader appeal than it looks. Like Gravity seems like it's a movie that really broad appeal, but it actually is feeding you something with maybe smaller appeal that I really dug.
Mm-hmm.
I think Prisoners, we dove deep, but that's one that you don't have to. Like you could watch that movie and enjoy it as just a really good thriller mystery kind of movie.
Yeah, I guess you could just enjoy it for the mystery. Because there's a great mystery at the center of it.
So what I love about the 3 movies that we talked about, what I especially love, the point I'm getting to is a lot of times you get the movie that like on Rotten Tomatoes will get like the 90 from critics and the 60 from the audience. Or you'll get the movie that gets 90 from the audience and 60 from the critics.
Or Melania that gets 7 from the critics and 90 from the audience.
Right? But these movies, I think all of them, you'll get both. You'll have it where there's the smart stuff for the critics, but also the mass appeal. And I wish we had more movies like that.
I'm right there with you. It's funny. I don't go back to 2013. We talked about 2007 and Children of Men disappearing in it. And I'm realizing 2013 was like another 7,
strong year. Yeah.
And which is just this incredible year of some really, really phenomenal films, both in the blockbuster realm and in the sort of prestige realm. And it also was like a bit of a monoculture moment. Like everyone was watching the Hunger Games, except apparently me. I don't know how I missed out on it, but everybody was watching Gravity. Like it was a brief moment in the fading of the monoculture.
And I really want another year, right, where the movie that got the most Oscar nominations won the most Oscars was a movie that everybody saw.
I agree. I do like when that happens. Having said that, how I feel about Anora. I am glad Anora won.
Oh,
I know nobody saw it and everybody should, but This year might actually be one of those years because we have a couple pretty big films up there. We've got Sinners as a possible winner. We've got One Battle, which, while it did not make money, still was very widely seen. It was just too goddamn expensive. So we may have another year like that. I don't think the little movie. I mean, Hamnet is the little movie that maybe could, but
yeah,
I haven't seen it yet, so I don't want to
best picture it. I don't think that's not the sense I'm getting.
Yeah, but we'll see. I mean, Anora won in the last 2 weeks.
That's true.
Yeah, it really wasn't going to, and then things changed. So yeah, this was a pretty killer weekend, I got to say. The other thing that's impressive as I was looking through this weekend is that there was such a big time at the theater where all of these films really were doing well.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, the PS4 and like Xbox were coming out that exact same weekend.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so it was competing with home entertainment in a way that films like this usually don't have to. In fact, only about every 10 years or so.
And in 2025, I mean, theaters will lose that fight.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, movies have historically lost to Grand Theft Auto, surprisingly. When I think it was when 4 came out, the theaters tanked and they didn't know why. They couldn't believe it. And it's because everybody stayed home and played video games. And so this was an instance in which the theater still won against.
Just speaks to the quality of the product that was available.
I agree. All right. It is rating time. Michael, we are going to start with your pick. We'll go to mine and then we'll do the headliner. So for Gravity, my good man, what are you rating it?
Gravity is getting the tippy top by the 4K Steelbook of Gravity. You should own this movie. You should own it in the best way possible. Watch it once for the spectacle, which will take advantage of that 4K Steelbook, and then watch it again to get what I think is the real meat.
I'm there with you. I'm going to 4K Steelbook it as well. I bought it digital, and I kind of want to have it on 4K Steelbook. I would buy a 3D TV to watch this movie. There's a reason to watch it for the spectacle because it really is beautifully done.
Yeah, I mean, we sort of glossed over the spectacle in a lot of ways. We talked about
because the story is so depth. On a second visit, that's what makes it hold up. But yeah,
but that is not to diminish the spectacle.
No, it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous and real and beautiful. And yes, I'm 4K Steelbook. Prisoners, buy it. I bought the movie sight unseen. I bought it sight unseen too.
And I am glad that I did because, as we discussed, I do think it's one that is worth a revisit.
Yeah.
And it's a great movie. This is a movie I'd recommend to just about anybody. Like, I'd recommend it to my movie buff fans, and I'd recommend it to my dad.
Yeah. I think the only thing that makes it hard to recommend is the runtime, as always. That's the one that makes it a little tricky. And
I'm
it
the
is
runtime stickler, and I still I think it's worth the investment.
Oh, I think it's worth the investment. I just think when I talk to people about movies, the first question I usually get from my friends is, "How long is it?" So, I'm really, I think I'm going to 4K Steelbook this one too. Deegan's cinematography in this is just so good. It's just, I can just watch this movie because he is actively fighting against the look of movies that I really don't like, and he's doing it so beautifully. I bought it sight unseen. I would. Here's what I'll say. It's a buy it. But if it gets a re-showing in theaters, I would.
Oh yeah.
I would 100% go back for that. Did you see Pretty in Pink just got its 40th?
I did. Yeah.
I was like, damn, we could have seen that in theaters.
It's like the second or third time we've missed something by a few weeks.
It's happened several times. I know. So all right. So I'm going to go buy it on that too. So we're lined up on those. And finally, Catching Fire.
Catching Fire is also a buy it.
Catching Fire is a buy it for me too.
Yeah, we didn't talk too in depth about it. I think we spent so much time on the other movies. The headliners sometimes get short shrift, ironically, on the podcast. But it is a very good movie, and it is rewatchable. I mean, of these, I've seen this movie a handful of times, and I still enjoyed it watching it again this time. I already owned it and got to fire it up, and I was happy it was in the library. So, yeah, I mean, buy all of these movies, and at least for one of them, make a real investment.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. So we are fully aligned, and that makes it MVP time. Michael, do you want me to go first? Do you want to go first?
I'll go first.
You want to go first?
Yeah.
All right, hit us with your MVP.
I previewed this a little bit. You stole my word earlier. I don't know if you remember.
Audacity.
My
Cuarón.
VIP is Cuarón for having the audacity to make this movie.
That's fair.
As he had the script, he showed it to a number of other filmmakers, notably David Fincher, who told him, make this movie, but wait 6 years because the technology doesn't exist. And James Cameron, who said, you can't make this movie, but I could with $400 million. I might be making that a little more dickish than it actually was.
Classic Cameron.
And so he was told like this was an impossible movie to make the way that he wanted it. He wrote what he felt was a small movie, the movie we discussed, but realized that in order to put it out there, it had to be the big spectacle. And the people who, theoretically knew what they were talking about told him it couldn't be done. And he said, fuck you, I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah.
And we got an absolutely amazing movie out of it.
Ooh, you almost changed my mind on my MVP with that. I think that's a solid MVP. I think the audacity is funny because we talk through these things.
It's like audacity was in my notes and then you said it.
Well, it is audacious to say the least. I think I tipped my hand early. I'm going Deacons.
That's totally fair.
I just think that, going back to Villeneuve saying that he hates dialogue, I don't hate dialogue. And he even said he was being hyperbolic.
Yeah.
But as I've gotten older, the way a movie looks has become so much more important to me.
It is what differentiates movies from other art, like storytelling.
It really does. For me, cinematography, and this is why I go into production design right after, is those are the things that bring me into your world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to enter your world through the way I see the light, the way I see the color, the way I experience the environment with these characters. And this is a movie that you said claustrophobic. That wasn't the word I had for it, but yes, it's claustrophobic. It is highly intentional. Just every single shot, every use of light, the way artificial light is used, but on set, the way natural light is used. The movie just sings for the entire film.
And that's why I don't begrudge the runtime. And I normally do, is it is so intentional.
Yeah. And even with the light box, and I have enormous respect for that, but that is a technological marvel versus working in the cold in Atlanta and just trying to figure out how to make this.
Shooting trees for 2 hours.
Shooting trees for 2 hours. Having crew members actually run out on set anytime there was anything red and paint over it in gray, because there was not to be any red except for the whistle, which we did not discuss, but damn, that whistle.
That whistle, yeah. There's probably a whole other 10 minutes of podcast about the whistle. I will throw out that it's Chekhov's gun.
I love that you said that. I didn't think about that, but it is.
And we didn't even really talk about the final moments of the movie where the whistle makes a comeback. And that's another one where the fade to black on this movie is really great too.
It is. But yeah, Deacons gets my MVP. All right, Michael, it's next weekend time. We're going to July 13th, 1990.
Yes, we are firing the time machine up again. I am ready.
Let's do it.
July 13th, 1990. We have a interesting top 10, but the most interesting thing about it is that the number one movie at the box office is Die Hard 2, but it is not our headliner. Our headliner is the number 2 movie of the weekend, Ghost, starring Patrick Swayze, Demi Moore, Whoopi Goldberg. It did not open at number 1, but that thing had legs, made its way all the way into the top 100 of all time. We've got the Tom Cruise vehicle, Days of Thunder, The Jungle Book, The Adventures of Ford Fairlane, Dick Tracy, which I was tempted to pick, Quick Change, Total Recall, Another 48 Hours, and Jetsons, the movie.
I saw a lot of movies, apparently.
Have you seen like all of them?
Yeah, I was having a hard time picking. I had to watch the trailer for Ford Fairlane, by the way. Did you watch that trailer?
No. What is Ford Fairlane?
Ford Fairlane is an Andrew Dice Clay vehicle. His attempt at turning star with a private eye movie in which he's kind of a jerk private eye. It looks awful.
He was in Pretty in Pink, which we discussed recently.
That's true. Oh, my goodness. So anyway, yeah, that was, I'd never heard of that movie. And I love that The Jungle Book beat it in its 1200th week.
Yeah. Those
Remember
Disney animated movies.
I know. They used to re-release them in theaters. They don't really do that anymore, unfortunately. But yeah, like Quick Change, that was Bill Murray's directorial debut. I've seen that movie a lot. I like that movie. It's a good movie. It's not a great movie, but it's a good movie.
Total Recall, which I really love.
Love Total Recall.
I love Total Recall.
Total Recall is one of my absolute favorite sci-fis from that era, but definitely seen that. Obviously seen The Jungle Book, seen Die Hard 2. I know I've seen Another 48 Hours, but I couldn't tell you a thing about it.
Yeah.
I probably have seen Jetsons the movie.
I know I have, but I couldn't tell you anything. I didn't realize it was a theatrical release.
Yeah. I've not seen Days of Thunder, and I almost picked Days of Thunder. I was very close.
Yeah, I haven't seen Days of Thunder either. I mentioned I almost picked Dick Tracy. I haven't seen that.
Well, I've got good news for you.
Not good?
I'm going with Dick Tracy.
You're going with Dick Tracy?
I'm going with Dick Tracy because I also have never seen it, and I really like Madonna. I was sad that her movie career didn't take off. League of Their Own, she's freaking awesome. I love me some Beatty. She's so good in it. I just adore her. I love Warren Beatty. I'm really excited to see it. There are a bunch of old 1940s short films that are an hour long about the character Dick Tracy that I'm going to maybe get some time. I'm going to try to sneak in and see and get a feel because I know nothing, and I mean nothing about Dick Tracy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with the character conceptually, but that's about it.
He's a detective that wears yellow. That's the extent to which I understand. So yeah, I am going to serve up Dick Tracy.
That is awesome. And I am going to go with a movie that was not in the top 10. You called me out earlier for going way down the list.
You always go way down the list.
I went down the list. I picked Pretty Woman.
All right. I watch that movie like every 6 months.
Well, good. Then you will probably have some opinions about it.
I mean, my opinions they will not be as informed because they are so mired in nostalgia. So for next episode, in 2 weeks when we come out with that will be headlining Ghost, which, by the way, if I've seen it, I don't remember it.
Same.
Pretty Woman, your pick, and Dick Tracy, my pick.
Awesome. Can't wait. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this supersized episode of The Screen Hoppers. I really hope that you check out all of these movies if you haven't already. All three of them are well worth your time. In the meantime, follow us on Instagram, Threads. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube. We're pretty much a YouTube show now, but you can also listen to the audio on your favorite podcast app. And check us out at upleftmedia.com. Sign up for our newsletter, see everything that we're doing there. And in the meantime, where can we find you, Ian?
You can find me at @in_upleft, and I'll probably be posting stuff on social media again. I don't know. I go in and out.
And I am at Michael_upleft.
You did it.
I did it.
And you read it, but you did it.
I didn't read it. It's not on here.
Oh, it's not even on there?
Not even on there, but you said yours first, and I sort of just...
that's why you were like, I'll hear him do his thing.
Where I might also post something to social media again sometime in the future.
Probably should.
But again, make sure, like, subscribe, comment, do all of the things, and we will see you next time in 1990.
We'll see you next time on The Screen Hoppers.
The Screen Hoppers is an Upleft Media production, written by Ian Tarter and Michael Smith. Produced, sound engineered, and edited by Ian Tarter, with special thanks to Rosie Page.